Hello, my loves. Welcome back to the RP channel today. If you are returning, if you are here, near, there, and everywhere to talk with me, to talk alongside me about how we're going to get it together within the next 3 months before 2026. 2026 is here, basically. And we must treat our lives as if we are going into a new chapter because we are. And it's not supposed to be some new year, new me BS, because I know that sometimes people say that and then nothing changes. So we're going to talk about how to get it together in 3 months before 2026, because you have 3 months. Okay. It's September right now. You have October, November, and December to lock in whatever it is that you needed to do or that you didn't do for the year of 2025 because for whatever reason you were off doing something else. But you know what? I also think about it to myself and I'm like, what was I doing all of 2025? I guess living life. But anyways, if you want to learn how to get it together in 2026, these are some things that I think will really help you, some realizations, some notes to make. Let's talk about first, identity shifts being the only thing that will make your habits stick. Instead of always telling yourself that you're working on yourself, you need to understand that you are becoming yourself. So, for example, if you've ever read Atomic Habits by James Clear, he illustrates this very beautifully because he says that the difference between people who are trying to quit smoking is that person A, when offered a cigarette, they're like, no, thank you, I quit smoking, versus person B who says, no, thank you, I don't smoke. Like the second person clearly doesn't identify as somebody who smokes. Even if there was a past tied to it, they don't identify with that label. And so it's more likely that they're going to be able to quit. And you should treat yourself and your goals in the same way, is become that person who would do those things or achieve those things. This is how you make habits actually stick, because you become the type of person that would have that habit. For example, you become the type of person who eats healthy, become the type of person that goes to the gym, the type of person who's not afraid to put themselves out there, film a YouTube video, put it online. I don't know, become famous, create a song, post it online, get 1 million views. Like, I don't know, just anything that you want to embody. That's what manifestation is. I know it might sound annoying to hear, but that's what it is. Honestly, I'm surprised how many people are not aware of identity shifts already, because I feel like for me, I've read so much about it. If you're into self-development, I've dabbled in a lot of different books and they always mention identity shifts as something that's really crucial. So if you're not already doing this, this is a huge hack. Anything that you want to achieve that you feel like is a little far away from you, just become the type of person that would achieve what you want to achieve, right? Another thing to understand is that 90 days is a lot, guys. 90 days is a lot of days. Do not underestimate how much you can achieve within that time. I've seen people turn their entire lives around within a month, and that can be you too. But the thing is, you're lucky enough to have 3 months, not just 1 month. You have 3. Okay. If you fully commit, you will not just have an amazing start to the year, you have an amazing year in general. It's like, you know how you wake up in the morning and you have a really good morning, and then you have a really good afternoon, and then a really good night, and then eventually you have a good day. You repeat that, you have a good week, and then a month, and then a year, right? When you win your mornings, you win your days. So if you win the start of the year, you can win the entire year, and that will bleed into the next year after that. Probably 2024 and 2025 were my favorite years of my entire life, and 2021. I felt like 2021 post-COVID was a really good year for me as well. But the reason is because I had such a positive mindset going into both of the years. Like whenever change came, I'm trying to cover myself up because this is very comfortable to film on a rope, but oh my God, it's like moving around. I don't want to flash anybody. I felt like those 2 years I was really positive and I was really adamant about rewiring my thoughts and replacing negative thoughts with good thoughts so that I could behave in different ways and I can actually change my life and see visible change in my life. And this is a hard thing to do if you've had a hard past, because to finally just put a pause in that cycle is a difficult thing to do. But I promise you, once you put that pause, then every year after that is going to be so much easier. Like, for example, you had a really hard childhood, you can actually become a really good human being in the future and not project onto people, not become an evil person just because as a result of your childhood. You can actually become a better person. The question that you have to ask yourself is, if I had only 3 months to prepare for the life I wanted, only 3 months and that's it, what would I have to do on a day-to-day basis in order to get to where I want to be within the span of 3 months? Not that you are going to get there in 3 months, but if you only had 3 months to prepare for the life that you wanted, this big, big life that you dreamt up for yourself, what would you do on a daily basis? What would your daily habits look like? For me, for example, I started with 3 fundamentals. When everybody asked me about habit building, I started with these 3, okay? 3 fundamentals that I wanted to get down was mind, body, and soul. So that meant I had to do something for my mind every day. I had to do something for my body and for my soul. For my mind, I promised myself that I would read a chapter every single day. And this is how I got back into reading, because school made me not love reading so much because of the content that we had to read. So I wanted to go off on my own adventure. And I knew it was good for my brain, but I didn't want to do it if I was forced to do it. Because you know how somebody tells you to do something and now you don't want to do it? It's like, yes, I wanted to do the dishes, but now that you told me to do the dishes, I no longer want to do the dishes. Same idea. I knew that reading was good for my mind, but I wanted to read a book that I was genuinely interested in. So I was like, okay, I need to allocate time every single day in order to read, in order to exercise my mind. So I was like, that was for my mind. For my body, I would work out at least for an hour every single day. And that's how I created the habit of working out. And I still do it 4 years later. And then for my soul, I meditated because it was a way to connect with something that was a part of me, but larger than me. You can call it God, you can call it the universe, you can call it source. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But it was a way for me to open up that portal and realize that I'm not actually alone and that I belong to something far greater. I am very important, but at the same time, I'm meaningless because I am part of something bigger. And I think that realization is very liberating. I worked out, I read a chapter a day, I meditated every single day, and I started with those three. And that bled into me making my bed. No, actually, I made my bed before that, but I don't know. Putting myself out there, being more confident, wearing what I wanted to wear, wearing to the gym stuff that I really wanted to wear, but that I was too afraid that people were going to be like, oh, who does she think she is? And like kind of take up space. And I think all of these habits bleed into all the other things that you could be doing and achieving and practicing and skills you could be learning. So start with 3 fundamental things and go from there. Do not make the same mistake I did a couple years back when I tried to do like 14 different habits in the span of a year. Like when my new year started, I started to try and build habits for like 15 different habits, and then it actually backfired on me because you cannot do it that way, and you don't even want to do it that way. The smarter thing to do would be to focus on 3 things that could be a foundational skills. Like I talked about, I think I talked about this in my last video. No, I didn't yet. That's the next point I'm going to make. Focus on skills that are buildable. Learn skills that are buildable. This is an example of a buildable skill. Okay. So let's say that you're looking to change your environment. And starting from now, starting from 2026, you're changing your friends, you're changing your circle because they influence you in a bad way. Maybe they're really heavily into vices or they party too much or whatever it is. I don't know why you want to change your friend group, but you have your reasons. But the thing is, every single human being needs friends. So it's not an easy thing to just be like, oh yeah, you can cut them off, whatever, and you'll be fine. Because obviously you need to have friends who will support you in a different way, and you can get a different outcome as a result of hanging out with these different groups of friends. And in order to make those groups of friends, you have to put yourself out there. But in order to put yourself out there, you need confidence, you need communication. So communication would be a buildable skill. It would be a skill that is, I don't know, it's a foundational skill. If you build the skill of communication, you get a better job, you make more money, you get better friends, you probably look better because you, I don't know, learn how to communicate with a more high-end hairdresser. I don't know. It's weird how it bleeds into everything. It's very fascinating, actually, that even the smallest things that we think are really insignificant bleed into the larger parts of life that make up who we are as a whole. Better relationship, too. That's a really important one. Better communication equals better relationships, better, more high-quality friends, high quality people around you, high quality opportunities, whatever it is. Next, adjust what's working and what's not, but treat it like a lifelong project because it is. It is a lifelong project. It is never going to end. And like I said in the last one, it's a grind that never stops. If you're not auditing your progress, seeing what's working, what's not working, tweaking it, you're not going to succeed because that is just the nature of building skills and working towards goals. The fundamental thing that all disciplined people understand is that just because something works doesn't mean it can't be improved. You know that saying that people say where they're like, if it's not broken, don't fix it or something. But I kind of disagree because just because something's not broken doesn't mean it can't be better, right? At least when it comes to working on yourself, I think you can always be better. There's always something to work on. There's always something to improve. There's always a better way of doing things, a better way of thinking of things. So I don't know. That's just my take. Next, surround yourself with accountability. So this means clean room, good people, disciplined people, people that are willing to inspire you on a day-to-day basis. Unfollowing people online that do not serve you, because this is an easy one. I don't know why everybody hasn't already done this after COVID. I think COVID was a really big eye-opener to me about who I wanted on my social media because I was spending so much time on it, obviously, because we had nothing else to do during that time, that I was realizing how heavily I was being impacted by these people that were actually just through a screen. And so it motivated me to get rid of that fully. And then my life has been better as a result of it. And to be honest, I know I have a social media account that's public and it is tied to my YouTube channel, so I do promote my channel and stuff on there, but once I post, I get off of there. And what I do post is I'm very conscious about what I post. I'm very intentional about who I choose to um, interact with on those platforms because it's a very dangerous place. Let's be real. It's not what it was meant to be used for anymore. So I think unfollowing the people that do not inspire you, serve you, you're comparing yourself to for no reason will actually do a lot better for you. So do it now. Do it now. A lot of the times when you're going into a new year, a lot of people think that it's just going to shift in one whole year. And you might have a lot of different changes in one whole year. For example, my 2025 looked very different from my 2024 and any year prior to that in my life ever. So it was like this entire year just like turned around. But the thing is, there was like stepping stones all throughout those years that I was really working hard on myself in order to get to this year that everything finally pivoted and I saw some real progress in certain areas of my life. And so, my piece of advice is to always play the long game, especially with working on yourself or trying to achieve goals and stuff like that. I heard this one quote that was really interesting, and I always heard it and I thought it was annoying because I was like, I never understood it, but now it's starting to click. It started to click recently. A lot of people overestimate what they can do in like 6 weeks, and a lot of people underestimate, sorry, what they can do in like 6 years, 10 years time. Because you know what? There are certain things in my life that didn't make sense until I went through a certain experience that made me have a certain realization. And I was like, okay, that's why that was supposed to happen. And then I re-forward back to like thinking about other times when that was like a pattern that was repeated. I was like, okay, I wanted this to happen at this time so badly, but I didn't realize it was because this had to happen and I had to learn this and I had to be like this. And there's always a reason for it. There's always a reason. I heard this quote where it's like, God, you will understand why God made you wait or the universe made you wait. And I think that's so true because you will come to know why your blessings came at a certain time or you met somebody at a certain time. And it's because it's all orchestrated for you, my love. It's orchestrated for the beauty of your life, the bigger picture of your life. And you can't fight against it because that will only make you more unhappy. It will make you more tired and probably looking worse. And it will not do anything for the grand design of your life because it's a very important it's all working together for a reason and you have to believe that it's working together to serve your highest good because if you think in any other way it will be because thoughts create things, remember that. Even if you go on Pinterest and print out pictures, create a vision board, or write in your journal. I don't know if you're a writer and you like to do like I don't know, write your goals or whatever about your future self. All that stuff is great. It's great. I did that for years. But one of the things I realized is application takes a lot of time. Applying things takes a lot of time and trial and error and all that stuff. And that only happens with time. So if you play the long game, you're far more likely to not only think more abundantly because you're like, okay, wait, if I don't understand this now, or if I haven't experienced this now, maybe I'll get it in 5 years, or maybe I'll get it in 2 years. And you're so much more patient because nowadays everything is very like obviously it's fed to us very quickly. And so obviously we get into the mindset of thinking that this is going to come quick too. This is one thing that you cannot cheat. Working on yourself will always take time because it will never end. So you don't even compete with anybody too. Like you're not in competition with anybody because their journey never ends and yours doesn't end either. So what does that tell you? In my personal journey, I realized that the thing that really made my dreams come true was not taking my attention off of my goals and not taking my attention off of it. Like, for example, when I first read my self development book, I thought, oh my God, like my first self help guided book, like when I got into this entire thing, I was like, oh my God, it's so eye opening. I hope I can become like I was envisioning this version of myself that is strong, confident, capable, running a business, all these other things. And I was praying to myself. I was like, do not let go of this. Do not let go of this. And I carried that book with me everywhere. And I made sure that no matter what happened, I was not going to fall into an unconscious state again. And I was always going to be working on myself. And I thought for a second there was that voice in my head that was like, oh, but I don't think it's going to stick. I think in 2 years' time, I'm probably going to give up on it. I think in 6 months' time, I'm probably going to give up on it. In a month's time, I'm probably going to give up on it and go back to old ways. And sometimes I did go back to old ways, but there was always my soul or some part of me that was guiding me all throughout and saying, no, but remember, you're doing this to work on yourself. You're meeting this person to work on yourself. And it lasted 6 years, almost 7. So it kind of just goes to show whatever you focus on is whatever will prosper and grow. And I focused a lot on myself these past few years. So much, so much time, so much energy, so much focus, so much just pouring so much into myself because I really wanted to make myself a quality person for the world, but also for me because I want to enjoy my body. I want to enjoy my mind. I think my mind has to be a very beautiful place to live, and I demand that it be a beautiful place. Not that it's already not already a beautiful place, but I think obviously your mind feeds you lies all the time because it's just doing its job, it's trying to protect you, but you have to fight against that. You always have to be the warrior against your mind because you are destined for greater things. And throughout the duration of those 6 to 7 years, every single morning, that question would be in my mind of how can I be better today? And then I would ask myself the same thing the next day, and then the next day after that. And eventually it was me just asking myself that question all the damn time. And then eventually you become better. Somehow you wake up and you are the person that you believed you could be. You've achieved all the things you believed you could achieve. And this only happens when you do not take your attention off of it. So don't let anybody, anything, any obstacle let don't let those things take your attention off of you, the most important thing, the most important project, the most important entity that exists at this moment, okay? That is all for today's video. I really hope to see you at the top in 2026 because I'll be there and I don't want to be alone. So meet me there. Love you guys so much, and I will see you guys in the next video.